So anyone with a functioning brainstem knows that the left will do anything and everything to spite Trump, even if it means that they have to harm themselves or anyone else for that matter. And only a couple days ago, Donald Trump hosted a press conference with RFK Jr. in which they revealed that Tylenol, Acetaminohen, is linked to autism, ADHD, and liver toxicity in women who are pregnant when it's used.
Important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks also to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism.
Now, of course, the medical system in the current age is untrustworthy to say the least, which is really ironic considering all of these I trust the science people are now trying to chug Tylenol in order to own RFK Jr.
About to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant because I don't take my medical advice from a man who doesn't have a degree in science, healthcare, or medicine, and who had a parasitic brain infection and was addicted to heroin for 14 years. Yeah, I'll trust my doctors who have their degree.
One of the dumbest realizations here is that these women probably didn't watch the press conference. The reason I showed it here is because I want you to have some context, because there's a few bullet points that have to be gone over. The first of which is that this was a clinical study. RFK Jr. and Donald Trump didn't do the study themselves, people. This was a clinical study performed by doctors, medical experts, and other physicians.
The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism.
So anybody who's saying, oh, I trust the science, well, you should fucking trust the science here, because it was clearly scientists that did this. Furthermore, it was hosted by Harvard. Moving on, RFK Jr. never even said to stop taking it entirely. He stated that in many, if not most cases, people are only going to have access to Tylenol. So if you have to use it, then you and your physician should discuss how low of an effective dose you can use.
FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required.
Lastly, from this clip alone, RFK Jr. does not definitively state that Tylenol is the direct cause of autism, ADHD, or liver toxicity. The confusion is brought about by the politicalization of the medical industry.
Furthermore, thanks to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity.
Hell, there's just as much confusion about whether or not ibuprofen is or isn't good for your liver in the same way we can't figure out how to fucking spell it. Not to mention the countless medicines that exist in this country that are all televised throughout this nation and the world, and all of them have as many side effects as Quagmire does STDs. So the contrast right now between a clinical study that is merely being announced that there is a link between Tylenol and these resulting effects versus all these years of COVID-19 as though it was brought upon by the horsemen of the plague, because if you stepped outside and sneezed in a direction half a mile away from your home, your grandmother was going to instantly die of leprosy. Are we fucking kidding? The differences are so stark, they're telling us that winter is coming. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me we have to trust the science but totally allow Black Lives Matter and Antifa to ravage half the nation while the rest of us stayed in captivity, and then a few years later tell us that you don't like certain people in government, so you're not gonna trust the science anymore, and then start guzzling down Tylenol like they're M&Ms and risk spawning an entire generation of Sonic the Hedgehog fans. Regardless, this isn't even new. Here's a number of video clips going as far back as 2014 from CNN, MSNBC, and other corporate propagandists that were talking about this link as well.
To be the safe option, acetaminophen, most widely known as Tylenol, is routinely prescribed by doctors for pregnant women in pain. But a new large study out of Denmark calls this long-standing practice into question. In the study, women using the common pain reliever during pregnancy were more likely to have children who went on to have ADHD.
The Los Angeles Times looks at a possible link between pregnant women taking acetaminophen and kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
A warning tonight for pregnant mothers. A new study shows acetaminophen during pregnancy could harm unborn babies.
We have an important warning for pregnant women. Using acetaminophen while pregnant could increase the chance that your child will be hyperactive. That's according to a new study by the Journal of the American Medical Association.
Research is raising concerns tonight that acetaminophen could be linked to autism and ADHD.
Acetaminophen is the most commonly used medication for pain and fever during pregnancy. Well, now we're learning that women who take it when pregnant may be exposing their baby to an increased risk of behavioral problems and other disorders, such as Tourette's syndrome.
A new study from Johns Hopkins found taking acetaminophen late in pregnancy may be associated with a higher risk of having a child with autism or ADHD.
A new study from Johns Hopkins finds taking acetaminophen late in pregnancy is associated with a higher risk of having a child with autism or ADHD.
New research out of Spain is raising concerns about prenatal exposure to acetaminophen. A popular brand in the United States is, of course, Tylenol. A study from Spain included data from over 70,000 children. It shows those whose mothers took acetaminophen during pregnancy were about 20% more likely to develop ADHD.
In fact, the Tylenol Twix account has 2 tweets on this. The The first states in 2017 their product is not safe for women who are pregnant. The later one from 2019 is a follow-up to an individual they were asking to give them a call because they hadn't tested Tylenol on women during pregnancy. But of course it doesn't matter to them, because whatever the amorphous blob that you can call their goals are, is always their #1 priority, even if that means sacrificing future generations, because they are a death cult. I hope to see more of the medical industry and the medicines that we use be revealed for the problems that they cause. We should not settle for a medical industry that chooses to poison us in order to treat us rather than fix the problem outright. But boy, is it ever ironic, all of these people who are supposedly anti-capitalist, anti-central government, totally okay with a centralized medical system that will treat you like shit. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, then please like, share, and subscribe for more political content. Check out my main channel for film and media reviews, or head to my tertiary channel for Battletech and MechWarrior. I thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.